watch somebody when they read a fortune, it knocks them out. For 5 seconds there, they crack that thing open, they look at that little slip of paper, they are knocked out. That fortune cookie just sang them, right? I'm going to draw this thing. It just sang them a song right here, right? And they hear that, they're like, ooh, right? That's exactly what happens. For that 5 seconds or whatever, it knocked them out. And what they're paying attention to is that right there. They're not paying attention to the bill. They're not paying attention to their kids or whatever. They're not paying attention to, oh man, okay, we got to go home and we got chores to do or whatever the case is. For 5 seconds there, they are wrapped up in that. That's the lullaby of the fortune cookie. You know why? Because the brain knows too, that it knows that's going to be just about them, not anybody else, just about them. Okay, so welcome back to another video, everyone. Today's topic is the lullaby of the fortune cookie and Jeff Foxworthy's miswaving. The stories we all tell ourselves. Okay, I threw a lot at you right there. So basically, this video is going to be about, when I say the stories that we tell ourselves, we all have this, what do you call it, like an ego, right? Depending on who you talk to, it's defined as different things. It exists primarily, though, to serve you and keep you going throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the year, throughout your life, right? Because if your brain didn't think that you were somewhat the center of attention and like the center of the universe, that's kind of the theory of the ego. If it didn't think that, then it wouldn't work so hard to keep you alive. Okay, or so that it thinks. So we talk about this a lot on here, but for tens of thousands of years, it was much harder to stay alive than it is today with modern conveniences. Okay, I mean, when's the last time you had to literally search for some food and you weren't sure if you were going to eat, right? Because the day before that, you didn't find any, and the day before that, you didn't find any. If anything, we have too much access to food. Same thing with safety. You know, there's some parts of the country or the world or something that are more dangerous than others, but everywhere you were tens of thousands of years ago was very, very dangerous. Like, you had the possibility of getting killed, like, on a hour-to-hour basis, right? Okay, so with all that stuff out of the way, this right here is talking about the stories we tell ourselves. Those came up, the ego developed them, and we have been genetically evolved, so to speak, to tell ourselves that we're the center of everything. That's called the spotlight effect, by the way, by certain people in certain situations. We'll get to that. But you've been genetically programmed to tell yourself that you're the center of the universe. That's the stories we tell ourselves, and there's multiple of them, and we'll get to some of these on here. All right, but we do that because our brain, you basically still have the same brain as your ancestors did tens of thousands of years ago. That brain saying that, oh, we better act like we're the most important thing that's out there, or we could die. You're worrying about somebody else and if they're okay, or like, or taking a look at this thing, and you're out there in the wilderness, you could get killed by something. So let's take a look. What do I mean, lullaby of the fortune cookie? Well, here's the deal. There's a fantastic quote out there that goes something to the effect of, if you want to hear a man or a woman or someone talk about or speak on length for hours, right, with great enthusiasm, ask them to talk about themselves. Okay, so this is everybody's favorite topic, all right? Even if you think that it isn't for you, it is. Okay, your brain, like, biologically likes to talk about itself. It likes to think about itself, just like we established here. Even if what you talk about is like, oh, I'm involved in these charities, or I teach like children, or I am a mother or a father, or any of those things. Those are great things to be. But all of those things is still, I do this, I do that, I do that. And your brain looks at it from the standpoint of, hey, I'm so great because of these things. All right, this is not a value judgment on anybody. This is a reality of, if you didn't think those things, you would be in trouble. You wouldn't be able to do them. Your brain gets like a dopamine hit. It releases several different chemicals depending on the situation that make you feel good when you do things that are like charitable, or you do things that are helping the species, or maybe you help animals or the environment or whatever it is. It doesn't matter how unmaterialistic and unselfish the things that you're doing are, the fact that you're completing them makes your brain happy. It's the same thing as if somebody went out there and made $1 million and then bought a Lamborghini or something like that. It's literally like the same sort of chemicals released that give you that pop of like, ooh, I'm happy, dopamine, or maybe if you're working with lots of people and caring for people, oxytocin, or it depends. I'm not like a chemist here or a biologist, but we all know that certain things make us happy, and that has to do a lot with this. Now, what does the lullaby of the fortune cookie mean? Well, fortune cookies are very interesting, even if you are not in any way a spiritual person or into anything that's a little bit, I don't want to say suspect, because that's not the word. Things that are not necessarily provable, okay? And just for the record, I'm a pretty spiritual person myself, okay? So no hate on spiritual people or people who aren't spiritual, but both groups, for the most part, let's say you eat at a Chinese restaurant or somewhere where they have fortune cookies, okay? The fortune cookie was one of the best inventions that ever came around, because number one, they're free. Everybody gets one, and it's exciting. This is a little dopamine pop at the end of your meal. You get this little sugary snack, which is, chemically pleasing to your brain, and then it's also free, which is pleasing to your brain financially, right? And then you also get that. You get a fortune cookie, and what's inside a fortune cookie, right? Look, here's you. You're right here. Let's say you got a little bit of a big belly going on here. You got a food baby. You're like, yeah, that was a good meal or whatever. And then they sit down a fortune cookie. I'll do my best to draw one of these. Something like that. Okay, and out of it is this little slip of paper, right? And what's on that paper, y'all? That's right, it's your fortune. And what does that mean? Well, in reality, it really means nothing at all. But depending on who you talk to, and like I said, everybody would attest that, hey, that thing is pretty interesting. Mostly everybody. There's a few people out there, maybe of different walks of life, that don't care anything about it. But for the most part, the reason why this is a very popular, or this is a very powerful, I would say, dynamic when you go to eat at a place like this is because that little message in there is all about you, right? That is the lullaby of the fortune cookie. Number one, when you pick up your fortune cookie and you look at it, those things are always all about you. Even if it says something philosophical like, I don't know, what's a thing that a fortune cookie would say that doesn't seem like it's just about you, right? They could say something like here's one for you. I don't think it's necessarily Chinese. It's just a bit of wisdom. It goes, the hunter who chases 2 rabbits will catch neither of them, right? Or you could say the dog that chases 2 rabbits will catch neither of them. Why is that important, though? Well, here, even though it's not necessarily about you, the ego will basically substitute if there is either not a subject or there's a subject that's unknown. Like a hunter, what does that mean? There's just any old hunter in history, just an arbitrary one, right? We're not sure who it is. It's just a name and a placeholder, or a dog even. You will do this. You will substitute yourself. Your brain will substitute you for that message and be like, hey, this is what your brain hears. If you, right, chase 2 rabbits, you will not catch either of them. And what does that mean? Well, that means that, hey, if you're taking your effort and dividing it with 2 things, you're not going to be that good at either of those 2 things, okay? And depending on who you are and what you're dealing with, right, you can say, well, that's not true with this or with this or with this. Yeah, I get it. But, okay, what it's saying is, with very grand, important things, all right, you don't want to be dividing your attention between the 2. You probably understand that one. You wouldn't want to drive a car and have a book open in front of you and reading it at the same time you're going down the highway. See what I mean? It's something like that. You're not going to be good at the reading or the driving, and maybe not staying alive either if you're doing those things. So the lullaby of the fortune cookie is, no matter what the message that comes through, even if it's just about life in general, and things like that, and the best things in life are free. That has no subject whatever. I mean, yeah, the best things, like things is the subject. The things are what's being free, but to your brain, that's like, it'll say something like, okay, this doesn't have a subject really, but we know the brain is egotistic, and it's like, we need to substitute ourselves. What does that mean for me? What does that mean for us? So it's like I would consider the best things in life to be free, or something like that. This is how the fortune cookie is a lullaby. And a lot of the times it does say something specifically about you, like something generic, like, oh, great things are coming your way or something. And you're like, ooh. Even if it said great things are coming by the way of the man who has gratitude. Great things will come to the man who has gratitude. The man is just, that's not you, but your brain interprets it, as you, right? This is the lullaby of the fortune cookie. No matter what it is that thing says, pretty much, because it's always a little bit of wisdom or a little bit of a fortune or something, your brain's going to interpret it as you. And what do people do? They pay a lot of attention to that little slip of paper that comes out of that fortune cookie. I mean, I do it too. It's just interesting. It's a little novel experience too. Okay? And you get that at the end of your meal, and it also kind of cements for whatever restaurant is. I mean, it doesn't work as well now as it did when they probably first came out, but you'd be surprised. They're still interesting. Dude, try this right here. You get 5 fortune cookies. Let's say you and 4 friends go out, so there's 5 of you, and you're sitting around a table or something like that, and 4 fortune cookies come out there. There's going to be a problem, okay? Somebody isn't going to get one, and they're going to be like, oh, what happened, right? It's not even an issue of whether or not they wanted one or they believe in fortunes or anything like that. That's going to upset somebody, right? If you don't believe that, maybe adults, depending on your background, right, have some sort of faith, and you're like, oh, well, my faith is all I need, and I don't need fortunes or anything. I mean, that's fine. Use children then, okay? You drop 5 fortune cookies or 4 fortune cookies off at a group of 5 at the table with 5 children at it, there will be a problem. So that right there is proof that genetically your brain, they want that story right there. They want that novelty because it talks about you. That's the lullaby of the fortune cookie. Now, as with everything, this isn't talking just about fortune cookies. This is about anything. Your brain likes to tell its story like you're the hero. This is cool. This is a good thing and a bad thing. Just like anything else, it's just a tool. You can use these egotistic stories for good, right? You want to improve your life. You want to make more money every year, get smarter every year, have better relationships, more satisfaction with life, whatever the case is. You need to have the idea that, hey, I'm important, okay? And I'm going out there and I'm doing all these things and building my life, or whatever the case is. It might be something different for you. Just like I said with the fortune cookie, you just replace you with whatever thing it is you want out there, and little by little you get closer to it. This is a little harder to do actively. It's difficult to do actively, period, because it's a very passive thing. But even passively, we get a lot of we get a lot of noise in our adult life that deadens this, or deafens us to this a little bit, when we could stand to be a little more egotistic in a good way. This doesn't mean going out there and screwing people over so you can have a bunch of stuff. That's not what it is. It's about taking pride in who you are, right? And doing a little bit better every day and being like, hey, my life is the masterpiece, the sculpture, the painting, the beautiful piece of music, right? The symphony, the series of novels, whatever art you want to put in there. My life is that masterpiece, and I'm working on it a little bit every day. That's the egotism you need. That right there is going to be good for this. See what I'm saying? The bad egotism, if you use it for bad, is just being like, oh, I'm more important than every single other person. You outwardly take actions that like showcase that. Like you put other people down. You're like, hey, I'm the best, screw them, or something like that. You know, it's even okay a little bit to think those things, but you don't want to be taking action on those and putting other people down, okay? That's a good way for you to never get what you want. Because for the most part, people of success in anything don't have it if everybody hates them. Or even if they have it, like, well, they make a bunch of money. Well, if everyone hates them, they'll be miserable, All right, and so that's basically what I'm saying here with the it's a tool. Your ego is a tool. You want to use it for good things. You want to use it for things that are going to benefit you and make you better every day at whatever it is that you do. All right, but you don't want to take it too far. It's like anything else, moderation, just like with everything. But the issue is you can do too little of it too, right? Because we hear the stories like, oh, you need to worry about the group and everybody needs to be benefited. You need to do things for the people. Those things are true. There is such a thing as reciprocity, altruism, right? There is the reciprocity and altruism bias. I talk about that a little bit on here. This talk isn't about that. This is about the selfishness that you do need to have, or you need to at least understand that your brain is going to take everything that happens to you and run it through that filter of, I'm the hero of this story. What does this mean for me? The fortune cookie, the lullaby of the fortune cookie is a really good example of that. Why do I call it the lullaby? Well, watch somebody when they read a fortune, it knocks them out. For 5 seconds there, they crack that thing open, they look at that little slip of paper, they are knocked out. That fortune cookie just sang them, right? I'm going to draw this thing. It just sang them a song right here, right? And they hear that, they're like, ooh, right? That's exactly what happens. For that 5 seconds or whatever, it knocked them out, and what they're paying attention to is that right there. They're not paying attention to the bill, they're not paying attention to their kids or whatever, they're not paying attention to, oh man, okay, we gotta go home and we got chores to do or whatever the case is. For 5 seconds there, they are wrapped up in that. That's the lullaby of the fortune cookie. You know why? Because the brain knows too, that it knows that's gonna be just about them, not anybody else, just about them. Isn't that interesting? Okay. So what is this? Jeff Foxworthy's misweighting. Alright, so let me tell you all a quick story. Okay. I think I told this on another one of these at some point, but it goes along with this one so well that I want to tell it again. So, if any of y'all know who Jeff Foxworthy is, he's a Southern comedian, and like an actor too. Well, he hosted the Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? That was him, and he's done some other things. Anyways, in one of his comedy specials, he made this joke. All right, this is one of his his men and women jokes. Especially if you're married, okay, you'll probably think this is pretty funny. So he says that men are more proud of their 1% effort in a relationship than women are of their 99% effort. So he says that let's say that this is, here, let's use a different color real quick. Let's say that this is, just for the sake of example, there's a man and there's a woman, all right? Neither of them are you, or you can put yourself in whichever one of these you think you are, and I'll tell you why this is important here in a second. But here's the woman, right? Here's the woman, and let's say she is doing this. Okay, she's got this little, actually it's not that little. I don't know why it's going straight to her head. Okay, she's got this device. Here, let's put some little brushes on it. Okay, here. And here's the man over here. And here is this is a driveway, okay? There's not really lanes in their driveway, but this will make it easier to tell that that's the road, right? But this is their driveway. And here's their house back here. Let's say their house is like over here somewhere. Get rid of this dude's leg. House. Okay, is over here somewhere. So, this driveway, let's have it connect up to the house. This is what Jeff Foxworthy says. He says that man, and then woman, men are more impressed with their 1% effort than women are with their 99%. Okay, and what he means by that, he's like, your wife could be out there repaving the driveway in front of your house. That's some hard-ass work, man. That is manual labor, and it takes hours. You ever see the construction people on the side of the road, and they're there all day? Sometimes they're there for a week or two working on the same part of road. That's some hard labor. So they're doing that, right? Or she's doing that, and that's 99% effort, man. It takes a lot of effort to do that. And he comes out there and he's like, hey, baby, don't worry about that ashtray, okay? In the living room, I emptied it out for you. Yeah, right? That's what he says. He said he's worried about the little bit of effort it takes to pick up an ashtray and dump it out in a garbage can while she's out there doing this. And she's like, that's great, honey, thank you for that. Right? Now, the joke is, it's one about men and women, but there's something bigger going on here. All right, I say Jeff Foxworthy's misweighting. It isn't his. It was a joke. It was one of, if you know Jeff Foxworthy or some of these older comedians, they do those, oh, men are like this and women are like this sort of jokes. It was one of those. For those of you all that either know this man or this kind of joke or of that like generation, you'll understand this and it'll be funny to you. For those of y'all that are too, I don't know, young, you might not understand it as much. Or if you have different values, we're not into the roles of men and women right here. I put this up because this will help you remember. This could easily be switched with you and like other people, because this person right here, people don't understand, that's you. That's me. That's everybody. That 1%, you know why? Because what did I just say before? Well, about the fortune cookie and the knocking you out and stuff, and about how everything is run through that filter of you're the hero. This person right here, it doesn't seem like it. When I say it's you and it's me and it's everybody, when we do something even little, our brain is telling us, hey, you are the what? You're the hero of the story. Everybody should know that whatever you did, whether it's 1%, 99%, or 50%, or whatever amount of effort, that's awesome, that's, right? That's the coolest thing ever. This right here, what does this mean? This is the concept of the like center of the universe. The ego makes you feel like the center of the universe because it blocks out a lot of other things that are going on. No matter what you do, there's somebody doing something a bit bigger than you, grander than you, all right? No matter how hard you fail, there's somebody that failed harder than you that did worse, okay? There's always someone doing worse and doing better, but your brain likes to kind of block out all of that and say, hey, whatever I'm doing, that's extremely significant, and it is, I dare say, the most significant thing going on around us, right? This is where your brain kind of leads you. It's the direction it kind of leads you. Now, like I said, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. You can use this for good. In fact, there is some pretty interesting, like science out there on how you can harness your ego to give you spectacular results. At least for some people. So very wildly successful people, one of the attributes that they have is they are more egotistic than the average person. Now, that can lead to some bad things, and I'm sure there's plenty of successful people out there that you don't agree with everything they do. Yes, I get it, okay? We're talking about getting somewhere farther, improving with what you're doing, and here is like the black and white sort of rule on that. And that is that a lot of hugely successful people have a little bit more ego, and in some cases a lot more ego, and they are a little bit deluded, actually. Here. I think I spelled that right. That's one thing I am not deluded on, is I am not a good speller. It's okay, though. We're going to continue here. The spelling isn't the important part of these messages. So, this man is deluded. He's misweighting, like I said before. The misweighting bias basically says that you're giving too much emphasis or too much attention to one thing when something else is of much greater concern, right? This 99% here, this woman is slaving her ass away out here. He should be bringing her at least some, I don't know, lemonade or whatever, or maybe out there helping her or whatever the case is. And he's out there like, dude, guess what I did? I emptied this ashtray out. That is misweighting. What is it here? Misweighting. Misweighting bias is like that. That happens in your life for many things, right? You're like, oh man, this, I don't know, a jug of milk is $1 more than it was last week. What am I going to do? But we forget that, oh, you know, when you bought that new car of yours, you wanted like some leather seats, and that ended up costing you $7,000 more, but you're like, yeah, but I really want the leather. Is it really worth that much money? Chances are that it's not, but we're not worried about that. We're worried about the $1 jug of milk increase, or maybe they're out of all of the store brand and you got to get some grass-fed milk or something and it's more expensive, all right? Well, that's misweighting. like I said, this is not a value judgment on anybody. This is just what we all do. Misweighting bias. All of us are victims to misweighting bias, just like all of the cognitive biases. But this one right here, this man was deluded. He was deluded. He thought that, like, hey, what I'm doing is, you can not only mention it in the same sentence as what my wife is doing, but this is even more impressive. That's what the joke was. And you don't have to, that doesn't have to be men and women. There's plenty of women that are this lazy or this deluded. There's plenty of other men that are this lazy and this deluded. That's just people in general. That's when you get different personalities and stuff. So what's good about this delusion? Well, they say, like I was getting to, used properly, that some of that delusion actually can get you some fabulous results, because the people out there doing a bunch of big things and disrupting industries or having huge results in whatever they're doing, it doesn't have to just be money. It can be with, like I said, it can be with relationships, it can be with charity or whatever. The people having those fantastic results, a lot of the times they're just a little bit deluded and thinking that they're really, really important. They're misweighting, but it's working in their favor, because the more they do that, the more their brain is what? It's like, it's motivated. It has motivation to keep going. And it also uses what's called confirmation bias, which means like, hey, look, remember how awesome we talked about we are. We established that we're the center of the universe. We're great. We're awesome. And we did something like, I don't know, dumping an ashtray out. I don't know if people even use those anymore. This was, he did this 25, 30 years ago or something, this special, to where people smoked a lot more. They don't as much as they do now, but you can probably still get it. And he's like, we dumped that thing out. Look, there's proof right there. We accomplished it. We're awesome. You see, I knew it. I knew I was the center of the universe. I'm the big hero. Puff out your chest and walk around. I'm the big hero around here. That's what he's doing. This can be useful when you're accomplishing something grand, because it will cloud the fact that most people are insecure about things. They're wondering. They got anxiety. They're like, am I really good? You know what they call that? The blanking on the term, imposter syndrome. Being a little deluded will actually help you cloud that imposter syndrome a little and give you more motivation. It'll give you more energy, used properly. Most people of pretty good success, even if they seem very saintly and they're very nice people, are a little bit deluded, and their brain is telling them they are the hero of the story. What they are doing is a fantastic job, and it is needed by people. That may or may not be true. It might be true, but what this is saying is having a little bit of that self-delusion in the proper, used properly, can actually help you get somewhere. But, okay, don't let it make you stupid, right? You also need to run all of these things through a check in your brain that goes, okay, is this going to hurt me financially, spiritually, emotionally, in my relationships, or whatever, okay? So, anyways, y'all, that's what I got for you today. That was the Lullaby, the Fortune Cookies, Jeff Foxworthy's Misweighting, and the stories we tell ourselves, because depending on the story you tell yourself, you're gonna do really good or you're gonna do really bad, right? And that's where, like, depression, anxiety, those things right there is when your brain is saying that you're the hero of the story, but you have so much opposition you can't get anywhere. That, oh man, maybe, God, I'm just losing, and it sucks, and it sucks, and it sucks. And life does, and that's, depression, anxiety, all of these fearfulnesses, being fearful, right? When all of that's going on, and this doesn't have to just be in life in general, maybe it's just with one thing. Maybe you want to, you want to try repaving a driveway, and you failed too many times. Now you have some aversion to that, and you're like, dude, I don't care how anybody shows me, I don't care if, I can actually do it. My brain has now built up all of that pain from failing, and now as the hero, that right there is my kryptonite that'll destroy me. This happens with money a lot. This happens with relationships. Your brain on a chemical level still thinks you're a hero, but if you delude yourself the other way, like, hey, I suck, or something like that, or I suck at this, or I'm not good with men and women and relationships, I'm not good with my kids, I'm not good with that, then all those systems I just told you, the misweighting and the confirmation bias and all of those things, they'll work in the opposite direction. That ain't good, man. So, anyways, thank y'all so much for being here for this one. Please do like and subscribe and check out my ever-growing list of other things. I've got I don't know, like almost 20 hours of content on here now. Stuff like this. But yes, thank you so much for being here, and we will see you on the next one.